Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you our first quarter homeschool review. And so if you enjoyed this type of content and other homeschool and lifestyle content, please remember to subscribe and let's get into it. All right, we survived the first quarter. We made it through. Sometimes it just feels like that. Like we just barely squeaked through and made it. And that's how it kind of felt, just between the craziness of starting school again and then also having to adjust to a toddler and a baby that are into everything, that are very loud, just all the things every single day. It's like, whew, we made it through. And I made it through that pile of homework I had to all grade or schoolwork I had to grade, and we survived and I'm still alive. So I guess that's a win. Okay, I consider that a win for the first quarter. But today I'm gonna go over just a few thoughts I had. It's not gonna be comprehensive of like every little thing that we did or that we were working on, or maybe my kids changed curriculums a little bit, like went up a grade level or something because they finished something. I'll mention a few things, but I'm not gonna mention every little thing. And I'm just gonna go through some of the highlights. You know, none of us wanna be bored here. So we're gonna try to go through some of the highlights of things that we did and a few things that were a little bit different too, and my thoughts about those. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing is science. We finished motion and simple machines a couple weeks ago. That's usually how it tends to go. Most of them have enough lessons that it finishes right before the quarter ends, like right before an 8-week period usually. Not always. There's a few of them that are a little bit longer and there's some that are shorter, so we almost could get through like 2 in a quarter, but I really liked this unit. It has tons of hands-on things. And my kids were able to make some simple machines. If I remember, I'll throw in some pictures and stuff of that. But the final project for this one, they don't always have big final projects. But for this one they did. They were able, I got a whole bunch of supplies, like paper towel, what are those called? Toilet paper rolls. I'm like, I cannot speak. What are those things called? So I got, toilet paper rolls. I had some that I'd actually bought on Amazon that are a little bit sturdier. And so I kind of went through my bins. I'm like, what do we have? So there was straws. There's different kinds of straws that we had. There was little washers we had used for some other, they're not experiments, but projects, I guess, earlier on in this unit. So we had some of those. We had like wooden spools. And so I had bought those again off of Amazon. And we had balloons. I'm like trying to think. There was so many different things and I just set everything out. And since we had talked about a bunch of simple machines, they were able to go through everything and build some. And they had some ideas. So like the second to last lesson is talking about pulleys. And so it had a project they could do with a pulley. And so it gives it right here. So yeah, I had paper cups too. So they can create a pulley system. It has the pencil with the wooden spool on it, and then some paper clips and different things they can use to create this kind of pulley system. So that was an idea. And then, like I said, with the final project, that lesson and the final lesson were combined together just because of the way our schoolwork went. But then I did like how this one, it had project day. So it's like, get a whole bunch of different supplies. And it does give a few ideas back here of some simple machines that they could create, but obviously they can just do their own thing. So my kids really loved this. I just set everything out and they were able to build different machines. And throughout the whole thing, there was a lot of hands-on projects like that. Most of them were fairly simple and they used similar items. So it wasn't like I was having to get a whole bunch of crazy things to do them. But I liked how it was hands-on, and it was good too for just starting back to school and not just sitting here, not having things for fidgeting fingers to do. And then we had their workbooks, which again, I just love these workbooks. They just add another element of learning and everything. And this one, we haven't fully used this to its capacity, to everything that it could do for us. But this is for 7th and 8th graders. So my oldest is in 7th grade. And this one, from what I noticed, because there's extension activities in the workbook, the teacher's book for 7th and 8th graders. So I noticed that a lot of the stuff in this book were reading. So it has the extension activity here, tides and gravity, and then you could diagram something here. So My oldest struggles sometimes with doing these types of things, especially if he's having to do it by himself. And so we haven't done this completely. I think he enjoyed reading some of the things in there and found those interesting and fascinating for him, but we haven't completely used it. But I do like how it is there and it's an option. So we finished that one and are currently doing Wonders of Energy. And so far it's been good. We're 4 lessons in, I think. And it's been nice too, because some of the activities they have you do here to experiment with energy use the same things that we needed in simple machines. So I don't have to get new things or anything. Like, it's simple, like rubber bands, or I'm trying to think, just the other day we used some other things. I think we've used some paper clips too. Some of it is just food, because that's a chemical, like energy, a chemical reaction situation. And so we're just using stuff that we basically already have at home. I was trying to remember what else. I feel like there was something else that we used recently that we used in that one too. There's magnets, so that's simple as well, and a bouncy ball. So just things that you might already have on hand or that are fairly simple to get, and they kind of carry across a few different units, so you don't have to be buying a whole bunch of new things. So far so good. We always have loved the Good and the Beautiful science units from the first time we started doing them. We've really enjoyed them. I continue to enjoy them. I was gonna do chemistry, this like chunk right before Christmas, but then I looked at the chemistry one for day 1, and I was trying to just quickly, because I had forgot to plan, you know, because sometimes I plan really well and other times I don't. And it had all these things that I had to do to prep for lesson 1. And since I was like not wanting to do that, I was like, well, let's look at a different one. And this one, it was very simple prep. So I was like, we're gonna just do this one and we'll do chemistry maybe after Christmas. Anyway, it was adaptable. So I kind of changed that, because that's not what I originally written down to do, but I didn't want to do all the prep work. So maybe we'll spend Christmas break making sure everything's ready so that we can do chemistry in January. All right, the next thing I wanted to mention is for geography, we did our knot grass stuff that we've been doing, and we played games, which my kids look forward to that. On Thursdays, they usually get to play some sort of geography game. But we did oral reports, which was new for us. We haven't done that before. And so I took the states we were gonna be studying for this quarter, and I can't remember how many there were, maybe 8 to 10. You know, it's about 8, I guess, because 8 weeks. And so usually it's about 8. And I just wrote them on a piece of paper, had my kids draw one of them out, and that's the state they were gonna do their oral report on. And we might continue to do this. They actually enjoyed it. It seemed like, well, some of them enjoyed it more than others. And they're like, oh yeah, next time when we do this. So I'm like, oh, okay, they're expecting it again. I was unsure. I wanted to have some sort of public speaking oral report aspect added to our homeschool, and I didn't know if it'd always be for geography. We could do it for like history or for something else, you know, or a book report or something, but they enjoyed doing this for geography, so we'll probably do that again this next quarter. So they all picked one of the states, and some of them were very much ambitious and on the ball, got into all the books, did some research online, put pictures in like a Google Doc and everything, typed things up, and they were ready to go weeks ago. And then one of my children was doing his this morning, right before the oral report was due. So anyway, you know, it just shows the different personalities and different understanding of the project. So I had some kids that, you know, even my 7-year-old participated in it. Hers was a little bit different, you know, and going forward, it gave me some ideas of, oh, maybe we need to improve this part or adapt it for her, try to have something, because she is starting to read, but she's not great at reading yet. And so there's a lot of words that are very, very hard for her. And so figuring out something that works for her so that she can get up and give a presentation, but it's not something she's having to read. And I had outlined what they should have, at least a brief idea of, I only wanted a couple minutes long. I did not want super long reports, but something maybe attention grabbing at the beginning that makes it exciting, like about my state. Why do we like to study about Kansas? And my oldest son got Kansas and he was not excited about it. And then he realized, like, Pokemon is huge in Kansas, and Topeka is the capital. and it was called Toe Pikachu for a little bit, for like the day they did this big Pokemon celebration. So he learned all these cool things that he didn't know. So anyways, there's fun things even in Kansas. But he was able to do that as well. He went through, he's the one that was preparing this morning, but he looked at those things a while ago with my husband. My husband was trying to get him excited about it. And so once he realized Pokemon was a big deal there, it made it a little bit more exciting. So I was like, have something maybe attention grabbing. You could share some facts about it, or a story, or something as you go into it, and then just a couple things about the state that you want to share, and then maybe something that closes it. If they wanted to try to do a food item, they could. One of my sons did hot dogs for Ohio, I think. And then my other daughter wanted to do popcorn balls, but she didn't get them made in time, so she still might make them. It just didn't happen for today because I'm trying to even remember what state she was doing, but they were well known for popcorn. So anyway, so just something like that, or they could draw a visual aid, you know, having some sort of aspect to show everybody. And not everybody had to do a food item either. Again, it was kind of like whatever, or if they had a type of art or architecture that was good there and you wanted to build something or draw something, they could do that as well. So I'm excited about it going forward. I feel like, again, some of my kids took it and ran with it and really, really liked it. And some of the other ones were a little bit like, But all in all, it was a really good experience, and I'm excited to kind of revamp it and do it again and pick some new states for this next quarter. The next thing I wanted to mention is my daughter's cooking section that she's doing for her schoolwork. So as part of the charter we belong to, she has family and consumer science education as one of her classes that she's doing. And so there's money allocated for that topic. And so we got a whole bunch of crates to begin with because they will pay for it. This one's a newer one. I haven't showed the radish crate on here yet. We probably will do more radish crate unboxings on here than we will we have KiwiCo, but I think they're getting rid of their yummy crate or rebranding everything. I'm not really sure. And then we also have little passports, which is fun because it goes to like different countries or different cultural experiences kind of throughout the world or the United States. So I just brought this one in to show, but not to like open it for you. Sorry if you got all excited, that's not what we're doing, but just as a visual aid, here you go. So we did that as part of it, and I thought that worked out really well. This last crate that she got, she wasn't as excited about the recipes, so that's been a little bit harder for both of us to be like, yeah, let's do it. But the first one she got, she was very excited about it and did a whole bunch of cooking, and I posted a video about that one if you wanted to check it out and stuff. So she had a lot of fun with that, and she's also been doing a cooking class. There's like, what would you call it? It's a store in our area, but it's like a specialized store for cooking items, for kitchen items, but they also do cooking classes there. And a lot of their classes are geared towards like the older crowd, older than children or teenagers. And so they didn't have as much homeschool. I think this is actually the first time they're doing a homeschool cooking class. During the summer, they had some kids classes and things like that, but this is specific to homeschoolers. And so she's been going to that. It's almost, I think she has 2 more. It was 6 classes over like 12 weeks. So they've done some things with apples. They've learned some knife cutting skills. They did bread this week. They learned all about bread and made some rolls. So there's some different things that she's been doing there. So we'll see if they offer that again in the like springtime, because maybe she'll do it again, or if it's the same class, maybe not. But so far she's been enjoying that, and it's been a fun like different aspect to add. She gets excited for these crates because she can go plan. She'll look through and figure out the recipes and let me know what she's doing, and then I'll make sure we have groceries so that she can do them and things like that. So it's been a really fun element for her and even for me in our homeschool. Okay, the next thing I wanted to mention is history. History's tricky. We're just doing mini units this year, so it's not a huge focus, but we're just kind of tying it in here and there, mostly with read alouds. But history can be so boring. I love historical fiction. That is like my favorite way to learn about history, is through that stuff. And then it leads me to want to know more about the events and might read more fiction books, nonfiction books, read more fiction, read more nonfiction books about the events and stuff like that. And so I really enjoy learning about history through reading stories. Like that just is something I relate to, not learning about all the dates and the wars and stuff like that. That's really hard for me. And I feel like it's hard for a lot of people. It can get really boring. And I know there's a lot of good kind of random curriculums out there that people enjoy. So one of the things that we are doing right now is I picked some mini units off of the Waldock Way. She has a whole bunch. Some of them are about people, some are about events and things like that throughout history. So the first one that we had done was on Pompeii. So this is the mini unit. I think they're $5 each on her website. And this has a few activities, but she also has a lot of book suggestions. So this first page right here, when you get it, it has all these different book suggestions, playlists, Pinterest, if there's games and things like that that might be fun for you to do with your kids. There's additional resources. So with Pompeii and learning about Vesuvius, we did volcanoes, right? So this has a National Geographic Ultimate Volcano Kit right here. And so we did that. I did that with my kids and our hands were dyed red for a few days, but it was okay. And so there's a quiz here. There's lots of resources and you don't have to use all these things. And then there's a few activities in here. There's like a map where you can find it. There's timelines, there's trivia, like cards too, if you want to do that with your kids. There's a lot of different options. So we did a little bit of the unit book this last week, kind of as a review and to sum up everything we were learning about Pompeii. But most of the learning we did came through the books she suggested. And so the first one that we had read was What Was Pompeii, and then Pompeii Buried Alive. So these are fairly simple books. And then this is an historical fiction book, I Survived. And there's a whole series. We have other ones of the I Survived series for other events in history that we're gonna be reading. And so my kids were like, how do they know that? Like, how do they know all these things? Like, it's not real. It's historical fiction, so it's just based on some facts, but the story itself is not real. Anyway, I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed the reading aspect of it. That was part of our read alouds this quarter, was going through some of those history books. And I felt like that was just a fun way to learn about history, and my kids were excited about it. And then they hear people mention stuff, not necessarily directly about Pompeii, but even about Italy or about Rome, and they just have something to relate to with it. And so I thought it was really fun, and I'm excited to go through my stuff and pick out what we're gonna start next week for our next history unit. Okay, so since I just mentioned read alouds with Pompeii, I just wanted to mention the other read alouds we went through. We didn't get through as much as I had planned or I thought we would. I always am like, we can get through a lot. And then I start reading, and reading out loud takes a long time and it hurts my voice. And I'm like, we only have so much time. I can't like just read and read as much as my kids would love it if I just sat and read like all morning. And so we just don't get through things generally as quickly as I think we're going to, but we did finish Number the Stars. This is a fairly quick read. We read the Giver Quartet last year. I didn't know it was a quartet until we finished The Giver, and I'm like, did they ever make any other books? And they did, and we loved them all. It was very good. My kids love that. Like, I want to call it's a series, but they call it a quartet on the thing because it is kind of segmented. They are almost individual read books, but also combined with some of the stories. So anyway, so same author. And so we read this book. Again, we were getting some history in here because this is a World War II book. And it's very simple and a straightforward story, and has, a fairly, it has a happy ending, where I feel like some World War II books are a little intense and traumatic for kids, for younger kids. So I feel like this is a good one for the range of kids that I'm reading to, from, young kids to an almost 13-year-old. So this was a good option for us. So we like that one. And then we're not done with Ernest Shackleton. This is the one that I'm like, oh yeah, we can totally get through it, but it's just taken longer to read than I thought. But I really enjoyed this story. I have read this by myself a few years ago. I am fascinated with his story. It's so cool. And so I'm finally getting around to reading this to my kids. And we're, about halfway, just less than halfway through. So we'll finish that up this quarter. And then the last thing I wanted to quickly mention is something with journaling we've been doing a little different. We have some different journals, which I've shown in other videos. In my morning basket video, I showed those journals. But I've enjoyed doing the question a day journal. And instead of buying one of these for each of my kids, because that would be a lot. And I also can reuse this book to year after year. I've just been going through and writing the question on this whiteboard up here. And then my kids each have just one of these mini, like half-size composition. I don't even know if it's half, it might be like a little less than half size composition notebooks. I just got these at Walmart. And then they just go in here. Some of them write the question. Some of them rephrase the question so that they know what it is. You know, like, oh, my favorite thing is, instead of, what is one of your favorite things, or something like that. So they might rephrase it, and they write the date. So this has been good. I don't want to like expose this child, but this has been good. So they write the date at the top, not that you can really see anything, and then she writes the question and answers it right there. And it's fairly simple. It's nothing super in-depth or crazy, but I've enjoyed being able to do some journaling aspects with my kids, because I feel like journaling is very important. Being able to express our thoughts, being able to reflect and think about our days and about our life, or our feelings, you know, especially about Christ or about our family and things like that. I think that's really good for all of us to be able to do and to have that record to look back on. So just trying to start simple things that they can do now. And I have enjoyed doing it this way. All right, so that is our Q1 review. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know how your first quarter or start to homeschool, however you divide it and name it. I'd love to hear how it's all going for you. Maybe some things you liked, things you're changing, whatever it is, put it down in the comments. We'd all love to hear. And remember to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.